With a long list of free agents in this year's class, the possibilities are endless for Ross Atkins and Mark Shapiro to pursue. So while we wait for them to make their first transaction, let's go over the 3 moves that would make up the worst possible offseason. First off, we have trading Alec Manoa. To me, moving a guy when his value is at rock bottom makes no sense, because A, when he is at his best, there are not many pitchers you would take above him, B, he has many years under contract to get back to form, and C, he wouldn't yield a big package. One of them being talked about is for Dylan Carlson, who is an outfielder for the St. Louis Cardinals that has not enjoyed a great past few years either, posting just above a 5 WAR in his 4 seasons in the bigs. This trade features 2 guys who both teams know can hold higher value. That's why if I'm Ross Atkins, I would keep Manoa, because if he had a 2.24 ERA with the Jays before, he's most likely to find his groove with them rather than the Cardinals, who are one of the worst pitching teams in all of baseball. The only way this trade works is if the relationship between Manoa and the club is so severely damaged that he can't even wear the Jays uniform. In that case, I can understand shipping him off, but nonetheless, that would not be an ideal move. And if the Jays decide to move on from Manoa, then they would have a huge hole in the rotation, one that would need filling. We have heard this offseason the club has looked at some big name guys like Yamamoto, but this video is about the worst case offseason. So instead, I will pick Rich Hill, the oldest player in baseball, pumping in fastballs at a mere 88 miles per hour, and the man who owns quite the underwhelming baseball savant page. Although when you compare it to Manoa's, technically it would be an upgrade. Last season, Hill finished with an above 5 ERA in 32 appearances and allowed 10 hits per 9 innings. Signing him to the Jays would most likely give us the same problem we had last year with Manoa, and he is currently projected to receive a 1-year deal. Meaning if we sign him to be our 5th starter, then we would have 2 empty spots in the rotation next year, with Yusei Kikuchi also a free agent. Definitely not ideal either. Moving on, we have trading Bichette. I know you've seen the rumors circulating about acquiring Juan Soto, and you know what, that would be pretty cool to have him on the Jays. But instead, I will use the other package being talked about because it's worse, and that is with the Chicago Cubs. This deal headlines Bichette for Christopher Morel and Pete Armstrong. Morel is an infielder for the Cubs who is a second baseman, but would probably take over at short for Bo. He has elite pop and decent speed, but with shaky defense, he would most likely not be worth more than 2.5 WAR. Pete Crow Armstrong, on the other hand, is a highly regarded prospect who is MLB ready. In 2023, he featured in 13 games, but went hitless in his 19 at-bats. These 2 guys at their best could be worth 7.5 WAR combined. But for giving up Bichette, a potential future Hall of Famer, the package of young guys is too risky for a team that should be in their prime contention window. And finally, we have re-signing Matt Chapman. Because, hey, trading Bichette, Manoa, and signing Rich Hill to fill the other holes in the roster is pretty cheap. Meaning they don't have to spend big on Jorge Soler or Cody Bellinger. No, they can instead spend the insane price tag of $150 million for Chappie. Now, I don't want to sound too hateful towards him because he's a solid ball player and I enjoyed watching his play at third. The thing is, he could have a $150 million price tag over his head, making it impossible to get excited over the thought of him resigning when there are so many other places the Jays need to spend. Plus, it would just feel like the Jays would be rolling back with an extremely similar group of players, front office, and coaching staff. And as we saw the last 2 years, something needs to change for this team to finally hit the strides we expected them to. That's all for this video. It was definitely a weird one trying to fill the roster holes with the worst case scenario, but hey, it just means that the front office does something that may baffle us this offseason. It can't be worse than this, right? Right?